Hey guys and girls, Matt C. San here. Friday night videos. All right. Let me share a prayer with you all that I do every time before I work with a client. All right, I sit there and I pray, God, please work through me to help me guide, insert name, whoever the client is, back to his or her spiritual path. That's very important. I think in the healing modalities, there's too much trying to fix a client. And that's why so many times I'll hear from other hypnotherapists, therapists, counselors, they'll say, oh God, I had a horrible session and I just feel like crap, right? And later on they'll come to find out that for that client, that was a great session. Right, the following week comes by and I go, oh my God, I was so wrong. It's because many times the healer, therapist, counselor is trying to fix the other person. And when you try to, I have a saying, it goes, when you try to fix somebody, you will become the problem. Right? Especially in relationships. If you try to fix your spouse, your mate, you will become the problem. Although they'll feel better on the outside, every problem will now be directed on your shoulders. And if you can't fix it, guess what? You're going to be a huge problem. So my goal every time is not to fix the situation, but rather to peel off enough emotions that are blocking them from their clarity. And when they have clarity, basically, to me, that means their spirit and who they are as a human being are coming together to meet. Then they can start listening to their own intuition, to their own advice, and corroborate it with the scenes, situations, and events that are happening in their life. Also, so when you're trying to fix a client, that tends to have you overlook where the client is at this moment, because you're so far focused forward for the client and you're trying too hard to pull that client from where he or she is into the future reality that you want to fix her in. And it sounds good, yeah, just bring her over from here to here, right? But the problem is, when you start to do that, you start missing out on a lot of the subtle cues, and you also miss out on a lot of the baby steps that the client needs to get from here to here. You're trying so hard to pull her into where you want to fix her in that many times what will happen is that client, and you know what, even yourself, if you try to go too far ahead with your goals, what tends to happen is you become so focused forward, everything's out in the future, you miss out in this present moment, and that future starts to overwhelm this present moment. And if this present moment is completely overwhelmed, the client or yourself will tend to shut down. And you'll keep pushing away that goal farther and farther and farther away, instead of taking that next baby step that you need to take in order to create enough momentum so that all those baby steps turn into this big, huge snowball, and all of a sudden you're running after it. And all of a sudden you might just run right past your goal, right? And then a new goal comes in and you've got so much momentum, you're going for the other goal. It just doesn't stop, right? Yeah, of course you can take some breaks here and there and some rest, but that's a good feeling when you can get so much momentum when it doesn't even feel like you're trying anymore. Okay? So if you're trying to fix a client, too many times you're not even thinking about the momentum to get them there. You're thinking about just plopping them from here to here. Right? The example I like to give is Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is an art that's based solely on fighting on the floor. When the Gracies came out to the United States in the 70s, they pretty much put up a challenge to every martial artist and said, if you can beat us, we'll give you $100,000. So martial artists from all over the world, from every discipline, came over to challenge the Gracies. And back then, again, remember, nobody knew what ground fighting was all about. Everybody was too busy fighting standing up. And so pretty much they took down every art out there. And you would think the one art that would have a chance against the Gracies was judo, because judo is another ground-based art. But judo here's the thing. This is where I'm getting to, right? So if you're not a martial artist, if you're not into martial arts at all, just stick with me. With judo, here's the thing. They have pretty much a lot of the same moves that the jiu-jitsu artists have. The Brazilian jiu-jitsu artists, the Gracie jiu-jitsu artists. The problem with judo is they said, here's you, here's the move. Get a person from here to here, right? And so you'd learn the move, you'd learn the finishing touches, but you wouldn't know where the transitions are. So here comes Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and they kept practicing to find out where all the transitions were to get from here to here. So again, when you're trying to fix, you're trying to force the end move. And if you try to force the end move, you miss out on the transitions. Right? And for me, a lot of the transition is simple. It's simple. The transitions I'm constantly focusing on, how do I get them back into their spiritual journey? If a client is coming over to see me, I know that deep down inside, probably the main root of the issues that they're facing right now, most of the time, is they've fallen off of their spiritual path. They've been guided off by somebody else's actions, somebody else's words, somebody else's deeds. Whether it's currently in their life or whether it's a result of something that's happened in their past, they've just fallen off. My goal is just simple to get them back on. To clear out the emotions, the feelings, the thoughts, sensations that pulled them off of their journey. The more I can cleanse those, the thought, feeling, sensation, again, you've seen me talk about it a million times right now. Watch the other videos. I have a video called The Importance of the Thought, Feeling, Sensation. Once I can cleanse that, then automatically their body relaxes, they take a deep breath, they become clear. Then all of a sudden they know the next steps to take. If they don't know the next steps to take, they're comfortable in not knowing the next steps to take because maybe the next steps just aren't here right now. And many times fixers will try to force the person to see the steps. Yeah, you can probably see their steps very clearly and what they need to take. But if they can't take that step because they're holding on to some emotional baggage, some perceptional some perception or thought that's preventing them to move forward, if you can't clear that out first, they can't take the next step. It's very clear to you that what their next steps need to be because you're not emotionally involved. You're not the one carrying the emotion that they're holding on to. And the more you can cleanse that emotion inside of them, the more, without you even suggesting it, they'll naturally gravitate and move toward the next step. Because when they're back in their spiritual journey, everything starts to become alive. They come back into synchronicity, they come back into clarity, and they come back into real understanding. So that, coming back to it, so that is why my prayer before every session is, God, help me help, blah, 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 whoever the name is, bring them back to their spiritual path and their spiritual journey. So if you've got some particular challenges that you're really having some really hard time with, realize you've just fallen off your journey. You've been listening to other people maybe. You've been listening to their shoulds, their woulds, their coulds. And you just haven't been able to come back into yourself to listen to your intuition. You haven't been able to come back to your spiritual path, your journey, to come back to your intuition because other voices are now clouding your hearing. You got to cleanse that, come back to your spiritual path, realign with your intuition, connect with the universe, and then move forward. So live a spiritual life, but with practicality, and I'll see you next time.